Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm very excited to be with everyone today. How has the program been? I'm positive that it has been going very well. I attended a few sessions and awesome, beautiful. Thank you so much, Pastor Emmanuel and Stephen, for having me today, and to everyone that worked together to put this, to make this happen. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. All right, so moving on, today we will be talking about CVs, cover letters, job sourcing, and we would also try to do a bit about interviews, both behavioral and technical interviews. All right, so forgive me if I'm moving so fast. We'll try and take questions while or after. It won't be a while, so it'll be after this video. We'll get to take questions. All right, so the goal of this particular session is to give you practical tools and tips to help you confidently navigate your job search and to make very great impression on interviewers and employers during your job search. Okay, so let's talk about building a world-class CV. So your CV is like you creating a brand portfolio, right? So this is you selling yourself, trying to market yourself in the best way possible, so much that no employers can turn you down. All right. So what should be on a professional CV? One should be, or the top of it should be your contact information. Basically your name, written in very bold letters, your phone number, your email address, a professional email address, please, not lollipop16@gmail.com, child of God at yahoo.com, right? So very professional. Your first name and your last name. Blessing Ali 55 at Gmail, something at Gmail. Keep it very professional, right? So much that it is very easy to even write out or to just copy out when they want to get back to you, right? So also is your LinkedIn profile. You can include your LinkedIn profile, especially if you have a track record of events that is relevant to the job that you're applying for. It is also optional that you can put your website or your portfolio, but if you're applying for tech roles, it is not optional to put your portfolio, especially, right? You can put your GitHub URL, just any stuff where people can check work, like something that you have done in the past, right? Also, the next will be your professional summary. Keep it very short, 2 to 3 lines, you're good. Majorly, you're depicting how many years you have been in the field and what you have done so far. It's that simple, right? But then you're structuring it in a way that it's very presentable, it's very marketable, right? So 2 to 3 line sentence, introduce yourself, summarize your career, and then what are you bringing to the table, right? Then next will be core competencies. Now, this is very important that you include. Now, the difference between core competency and skill is that core competencies are more inclined to the role, right? They are more inclined to the role. For example, a lawyer should be a very good negotiator, should be a very good communicator. Um, a a tester, for example, should be very good with designing test cases. You should have keen eye for details. So those are key competencies. They can be technical or they can be soft, right? Communication is a key competence if it is directly related to the role. For example, a business developer, a marketer, human resource person must be very good with communicating, right? So key competencies can include both technical and soft skill, but must be directly related to the role. Okay, moving on is your professional experience. This is where you list the roles that you have occupied in chronological order, meaning you start from the recent role, from the most recent role. And in cases where you haven't particularly worked with an organization, for example, for freelancers, you can do what we call project-based CV, where you list the projects you have worked on from the most recent project to the oldest one, right? So when you're listing your experiences for those that have experience working with an organization, you include the job title first, then the company, the location of the company, attach to the company. Then the next one will be like the dates that you worked with the company from this to this. The job that should be included should be jobs where you have spent like at least 6 months, except if you're still working in the organization, right? But any other one should be at least 6 months for it to be relevant, right? So when you're writing your professional experience, focus on your achievements. And rather than writing what your team did, focus on what you did. So use words like I ensured, I did this. And then if you can quantify the result, it is even better. So stuffs like I created a client tracking sheet, which is used to track client satisfaction, leading to 30% increase in client retention, right? So that has shown what you did and the resultant effects. That's the best way to structure your professional experience. And the next is your education. So when you are listing your education, so education is coming last, so to say, in your CV, because I am assuming that for people like me, which is the story of most person, is that you have changed career paths, right? I studied biological sciences in school, but right now I am doing human resource. I'm also doing software testing, right? So my BSc has nothing to do with any of the roles that I'm doing actually. So if that's the case, then your education will have to come last so that your CV, the person going through it have probably seen enough to be convinced that you are qualified for that role, irrespective of what you did in the university, right? So, but if you, let's say you're applying for the position of an accountant, you studied financial accounting in the university, you had a 2-1 or a first class, that is a selling point. For that scenario now, your education can come first after your contact information. The reason is because that is the selling point. Especially, let's say you have ICANN, you have ACA, that is a selling point for anybody. So if you have relevant education, you can bring it up. But for some of us where our BSc is not relevant, right? Even though, of course, you have other certification, you should have other certification if you are changing a role, right? So it is better that you highlight your most recent and relevant qualification. So the last thing that will be coming up is your BSc, if it is not relevant. Even if it's a master's degree you have and it is not relevant to the role, it will be the last thing to come up, or the last thing you would list in that column for education. So when you're doing your CV, avoid unnecessary colors, especially if you're not a designer. Now, for people that do design, UI, UX design, of course, I know their CVs are usually colorful. They want to play around with colors and all of that. It is allowed for that role. I know for architect, I think there's something that is also allowed for them to do. But for any other role, avoid tables, avoid colors, just do your black and white, really. Avoid putting your pictures, especially if it's not for roles like customer service. I know some customer service role require that you attach your picture. So roles like flight attendant and the rest too require that you attach your picture. But for any other role, especially if it is not asked, don't put picture, don't put your date of birth, right? Very information that are not necessary. Don't put your primary school, the primary school you attended, the secondary school you attended, right? Even some NYC experience are not valid. Right. If the organization is stating it, or if you don't have a lot of experience and you're able to structure your NYC experience well, that's okay. In as much as you can just indicate that you've done NYC. If it's not a relevant experience that is directly related to the role you're applying for, it's not important that you put it, especially if you've had other certifications after that time, right? If you have a master's degree, I don't think you have to list NYC again. That should be outdated. So your most recent, I advise that you put three of your most recent experiences in your CV, nothing more than that. Let it be the three most recent experience, especially if those experiences are showing growth. For example, this internship, HR intern to HR assistant to HR officer, like just showing progression along that role. That would be perfect, right? Your CV should be visually appealing, readable, consistent font, no mistake, no error, no repetition, right? Just keep it up to like 1 to 2 pages. But if you are from PhD, of course, it might be up to 3 pages. Educational CVs are usually more than that because you have to put publications, projects, volunteer work, and the rest. But for regular job CVs, 1 to 2 pages is okay. And also, if a job does not ask you for referee, just put that it is available upon request. The reason is because if you put it, they might not get back to you. But if you do not put it and they need it, they'll definitely get back to you, right? So one of the advantage of not putting it is when they do get back to you, if they ask for it, please add it. But if they do not ask, it's not important that you put it then. If they need it, they will definitely let you know. And by that time, you'll have gotten a relevant referee to use for that particular purpose. And you would also be able to follow up when they let you know that they have contacted your referee. All right, so let's move to cover letters. So somebody once asked, is it important to add cover letter to my CV when I'm sending it to a recruiter? The answer is yes. It is mostly optional because most companies will just say, send your CV. But whether a company asks for your cover letter or not, you can send it. It will not like count against you because some organization actually expect you to attach your cover letter to your CV. So when they do not ask for it, you can always give it. It is safer to just attach your cover letter with your CV because your cover letter shows like it gives more detail of what you probably didn't mention in your CV, right? So the first thing you should do on your cover letter, the first paragraph, or the first thing you should do is to introduce yourself. Or you can also put like a brief contact session where you just put your name, so the matter of address is based on if it will favor you or not. Basically, whatever will not favor you, don't put it on your cover letter or your CV. If a job says the job is in Lagos, for example, you're applying in Abuja, the address is not in your favor. They'll most likely want to pick somebody in Lagos, right? So you can just keep out the address part. If it is important, they will ask for it back. But if they ask you to apply from Lagos, if you have an address in Lagos that you can use, that's fine. Even within Abuja, if the job is in Garki and you're in Gwarimpa or you're in Gogolada, for example, they might want to consider somebody that stays within Garki for that job. So it might be at your disadvantage to actually put Gwagwalada. So you can just put Abuja to show that you are in Abuja, actually, right? So another thing is when it comes to details on your CV and your cover letter, you have to be sure of what they will require so that you know what you can intentionally keep out. But your date of birth is never safe to put it, whether you're young or you are old. It is never safe to put it. If they're not asking for it, don't include it. Just leave it at that. Right. So the first paragraph is why you are a fit. I like to experience your skills and make sure they align with the job requirements. Right. Before you apply for a job, check the job description. The job description shows you what the recruiter is open to see in an ideal candidate. You can now use the job description to draft out a CV or a cover letter. Now, you have to be very intelligent about this because recruiters can also sense when you just lift a job description and you put it as your CV. So it is important that you are intelligent about the way you restructure it and then you put it as your CV or your cover letter. Then the next will be why you chose the company. Here, actually, it is for you to, in a word we'll use, for you to whine the company, right? You could go as far as saying that your interest in the company started when you saw Tony Elumelu on in an interview and he said this and it goes with your value and this and that. You could also talk about their latest project that they did and how you felt like you could have contributed to the project. Now, this is not to invalidate the work that has been done in the company before you came. For example, you can say stuff like, I saw your last product and I felt like if you had a developer like me, that color was wrong or something. Like you're not invalidating, but you're stating how you being in the team could have made that product better, right? You could say you watched a court case and you you actually felt like this argument could have sufficed. This one would have just stuff like that, just to wind the company and then cheapen your own value, what you could have offered as like if you're a part of the company, for example, what you could have done better. Then you close the uh, cover letter, you sign out officially like sincerely or how you would like to sign it. Or you might just keep the sincerely if it's not, if you're not sending the cover letter as a mail, you can just sign out with thank you. I look forward to meeting you. I look forward to discussing this offer in detail. I'm available via you put your email, you put your phone number, right? You put your email, you put your phone number, and then that's it. You have your cover letter ready for that job. Another question I get often is, how many CVs and cover letters do I need as a person, as a job seeker? So the question is, you need a lot of CV. You need a lot of cover letter. For a particular role, you could have over 50 CVs for one role. The reason is because organizations have specific details that they need in a job. So when you read a job description, the first thing you do when you get a job advert is not to apply. The first thing you do is to read through it, check the job description, check the CV that you have. Does the CV that you already have really show what they need from the job description? If the answer is no, then you create a new CV. Like I tell people, don't edit the CV that you have before. Create a new one. Creating a new one will make sure that you're attentive to details rather than trying to edit this out and edit that out. And then you don't know when you have not edited what you should have edited. So create a new CV. You can use Canva, you can even use some AI to generate CV, but that's very tricky. We can't go into details with that now, but that's very tricky. Well, I've done it quite a lot and has worked. It's a lot of prompts, but then you can do that, right? but make sure that you're not using generic words. That's why I said you have to prompt the AI very well to get that. So another one is keyword optimization. You have to make sure that the keyword in the CV, in the job description is, or they are on your CV and your cover letter. Because for most big organization, they use the applicant tracking system. We just screens out CV once a particular word is not there. So make sure that the keywords that you use, you're applying for human resource, words like recruitment, talent sourcing, onboarding, offboarding, things like payroll management, team management, teamwork, and stuff like that should be recurrent. And depending on the role you're applying for developers, we need to see programming languages coming up often in your CV and your cover letter. Then also remember that quality is better than quantity when it comes to job applications. It's better to apply for 5 good jobs where you stand a chance than 50 generic ones where you just see it, you just put easy apply, send CV, full stop, and then that doesn't really count, right? Okay, so when it comes to searching for job, now that you have your CV and you have your cover letter and we want to go look for job, where do you go to? Um, one of it is job boards. Job boards are they work actually. They work actually. Yes, I've gotten job from job boards. Yeah. Job boards work. Job boards like LinkedIn, like Indeed, like Glassdoor. Glassdoor is very good. They even give you an overview of the company that you're about to apply to. However, the best would be company website for me. So when you get a job posting on LinkedIn, on Indeed or Glassdoor, you can copy the organization, like the name, then you go on their website and apply directly. That is faster. And then if it's on their website, then it is true. I know most times job boards use fake job ads to drive traffic. So it is better you go to a company website to confirm that they actually have a vacancy and then you apply directly, right? Next thing you can do is networking. Somebody once said that he's my boy or I know him is better than I have a first class. To be sincere, it is true. That's just, it is true. It is very true. Yeah, the last job I did in Abuja was through referral. Somebody just said, I know somebody that can do the job, full stop. And I came with other people, but it was obvious that they have given out the job already. So somebody, if you know somebody in a company that is recruiting, reach out to them for referral. Most companies even pay their staffs for referring somebody for a job, especially if you're a good referrer, if you happen to do your job well by the time you come in. Another thing is recruitment agencies. There are a lot of legit recruitment agencies out there. I know you have to pay, or they take maybe a percentage of your first salary. If that's okay by you, you can also check them out. But the ones that keep taking your salary to 6 months, I do not advise that. If it's okay by you, you can absolutely go for them. So it is also important that you maximize your LinkedIn posts at least once a week, at least once a week. Relevant post, I mean, on the role on the career you're trying to build. Share somebody's post, write your thought. Even if nobody's liking, just keep doing it. Somebody's checking it. That's how people become a prominent voice in what they do, because they keep saying something about it, right? So it is important that you maximize that. You can also set up job alerts on LinkedIn, on Indeed also. I know Indeed also does stuff like that. So you can set it up, location, the kind of job. So anytime there's an opening around that, they send it to you. This will also help you to save time. All right. So let's talk about interviews now. So after you have applied and you got the opportunity to present yourself, it is important that you demonstrate, like you give it your all. for an interview, you can never over prepare for an interview. Keep preparing. Know what is expected. No one should go to an interview and not know what to do. I mean, you applied for this job. That's some effort. So here are some tips. The first one is to research the company. I had an interview where I think I once shared it here, where I asked the applicant, so what do you know about us? And he said nothing. And I asked if that's nothing. He said uh, he hasn't gotten the time to read about us. And that's very shocking because we gave him 2 weeks notice. So even if you have 1 hour notice, the first thing you should do is go to a company website, check the about us or who we are section of the website. You would see what the company does, see their core values, at least know those ones. So when they say, what do you know? I've even had people come for interview and they say they can't even say correctly the name of the organization that is currently interviewing them. That's very wrong. Of course, when I come in contact with such candidates, that's the end of the interview because you don't even know who is interviewing you. Am I sure that you actually applied? All right. So another thing is to dress professionally. Professionally is relative. Dress according to the organization you're going for, but no organization wants you to come with slippers. I'm very sure of that one. No one wants you to come with slippers. No one wants you to come with sandals. At least wear a shoe. Whatever you're wearing, wear a shoe with it. Even if it's a cleaning job, wear a shoe. I hope you know that even for agencies that are doing cleaning, they don't treat all their cleaners the same. So give yourself some class when you're going there. Then showcase your soft skill. Be empathetic. You get there, you notice the front desk person is tired. You can offer to help. I remember an interview where the applicant was like, "Are you okay? You look tired. Is there something I can do?" And of course, there's nothing, there's nothing you can do. But that sets the tone for our conversation. We started, we started with uh instead of the generic questions that I could have asked, I just told the person, "You've probably been tired at work before." The person said, "Yes. So what did you do?" And that was the conversation. The person did set the mood for the conversation. And in fact, I would say the candidates started to lead the conversation, right? And that was very good. Yeah, the guy got the job. No, of course, not because he told me I was looking tired. He showed that it was very good, of course, for somebody to have noticed that and be able to voice it. So the guy was very good. Then ask thoughtful questions. Don't ever go to an interview without having questions. Don't ever do it. No matter what. You can even ask questions about their future plans. You can ask questions about what they asked you that you did not get. You can ask any question. You can ask any random question, but let it be professional. No personal questions. No questions of how many people are married here. Do you people give maternity leave? Yeah, if you are married, you can ask that question, but I don't think guys should ask such questions. Just ask very relevant questions, and not question that shows like you want to escape. No questions of so how much is the highest person, like the oldest person earning? Like questions that do not concern you, don't ask, right? Okay. Then when it comes to addressing your weaknesses, when questions, okay, I think we've just got to answering. I will address that when I'm talking about answering hard questions. So I'd mentioned that we'll talk about behavioral and technical interview. So there is a difference between behavioral and technical interview. For most companies, behavioral interview comes first because it is just to check if you're culturally fit for a company and to check your soft skills, your relational skill majorly. So you hear questions like, tell me about a time where you were under pressure at work. So when you hear questions like this, or they say, what do you do when you're under pressure? Don't say, I delegate, I do this, I calm down, I dance, I eat food, I just take a break, I walk out. They're expecting you to paint a scenario. Then you go from a problem to the solution. So when you're answering this question, you can remember the acronym STAR, that's STAR. S is for situation, you talk about a situation. Then task, you explain what you were expected to do. The action, how you carried out the task. Then the results. So this happened, I did this, I went to this person and this person, then this was the outcome. An example, let's set an example. Okay, so questions like describe a time where you worked with a difficult client, right? So questions like, okay, I remember a time where our top client came and was complaining that their dashboard was down. I immediately tried to calm them down and get more details on what really happened. After which I took it to our system administrator and confirmed that indeed we had network issues between the hours of 8 and 9 the previous day. And while other dashboards have been restored, theirs have not been. So what did you do? I worked with the system administrator to make sure that it was restored immediately, after which I went back to the client, I apologized, and as a compensation, we gave them 1 week free subscription on our dashboard. And because of that, our client, the client has remained with us at least from the last time that I heard from the organization, right? It has shown the problem and it has shown how it was resolved. So that's how to answer behavioral question. Always paint a scenario for any of those questions. Then for technical question, there's no how. This is to test if you really know the job. So you might be asked to prepare a payroll, for example. You might be asked to assume you are handling a court case, for example. You might be told to design a website, for example. So there's no how to answer this. But in a case where you are not sure of what to do, you can admit that you're not sure. Just tell them stuff like, I'm not exactly sure of this concept. However, I would like if you can explain it to me. So it's okay to totally not know, but don't assume, don't try to eradicate the impression that you are giving with the right answers. That's what I would say. And then if you are confident about the answers that you know and you admit the ones that you do not know, it shouldn't be a problem. The ones that you do not know should not count against you, especially if there are things that could be learned, right? So be yourself in an interview. But what you need most in an interview is total ability to communicate, and then you need to know what to say. But when you don't know what to say, still be able to communicate that you don't know what to say, right? Okay, so handling difficult questions. There are a lot of questions that people do not like to answer in an interview, but we always come up. So let's just talk about them. Gaps in employment, questions like you have not worked for the past 2 years, what happened? I didn't work out through COVID-19. Yes, I didn't work out through. So I had this question when I finally go back to work in 2020. And of course, there was COVID-19. But in cases where they are not like COVID-19 as an excuse, you can tell them you didn't get a job. It's actually that simple. Especially in Nigeria, that's not a sin. I didn't get a job during this time. However, I've taken the time to reflect on my career journey. I've done this course, I've done this certification, I've done this, I've volunteered here. Do you understand? It just cancels whatever gaps they are or whatever they are afraid of. Then salary expectation. If you know the amount they pay their staff, which you should research before the interview, because they would definitely ask you. If you know the amount they pay, don't say, if they pay 80,000, for example, don't say I want 80,000. Say I want between 80 to 100, for example. Give them a range, but let the range cover what they can afford. Then ask for something more, because it's possible that they are paying that because the person didn't negotiate, right? We have 2 people, or we add 2 people in the same role, the same qualification, earning 2 different salaries because one negotiated. It is very wrong of organizations to do, I know, but then organizations do it. So negotiate your salary. That's very okay. Especially if you're good. It's nothing. And if you don't know, you can just tell them you want something that is able to sustain you, right? And you can also tell them you're open to discussing how much they are willing to offer you, right? But don't ever make it sound like they are doing you a favor. You are going to work for the money, right? So let them know that you will need something motivating. Then when they ask, what are your weaknesses? Feel free to tell them a real weakness, a real work weakness. Let me add to it, right? But while you're doing that, I want you to be very careful. For example, somebody that applied for accountant and they say, what's your weakness? And you say, I have weakness with money. You will not get the job because that's a core competence that is required for the job. That is not a weakness. That is not being competent, right? So you should know the difference between what a core competence should be and what can be your weakness at work. Weakness can be something like when it comes to releasing money, you are too, yeah, most accountants are rigid with money, right? So you can structure that, then you can let them know that, however, you have learned that when it comes to financial decisions at work, you would rather follow facts on the book. Do you understand? So that has taken away you will hold money, people will not be able to work and all of that. And well, employers will like that. So why should we hire you is another question. When they ask you this question, feel free to market yourself. Talk about how you won 5 cases in 1 month, how everybody you have represented in the court won the case, how this has happened, how you have recruited top talents, how you have just blow your trumpet at this point. Then questions like, why are you leaving your former employer? Don't ever speak ill of the company. Don't say anything negative. Even if you left because they were negative people or they were toxic environment, don't say it was a toxic environment. Just say stuff like for professional development, for stop. And where you have issues like, okay, another thing you can say, because the professional development is very generic right now, another thing you can say is uh, growth is say for professional development, but you could structure it stuff like there are some companies where if you have grown to an officer level, they can promote you higher. That is a reason to leave, right? Things also like premature growth. There are some companies where they just keep promoting you officer. Before you know it, you have just spent 2 years in a row, you're already at the officer level. That is very unhealthy. I know a friend who lost a job the job was offering him 700,000 as a 2021, 700,000 apart from other benefits. But he lost the job because the company he was working, which he has only worked for 2 years, said he is an account manager. These people are looking for account officer. So they're asking him, if you're already a manager, why do you want to become just an officer? Unknowing to them that this company, they just promote people, they are just title based, irrelevant titles, right? So even if your company is giving you relevant titles for the sake of your career, it's not everything you should put on LinkedIn. Don't go straight to LinkedIn and say, I was recently moved to the CEO position when you don't have the relevant skill for that position. It's going to count against you when you want to change your job. So those are reasons to leave a job. You can just say that you're not comfortable with the growth metrics of the company. That's simple. So when you're answering any question, just be calm, be truthful, and of course, be confident in your answer. Don't speak ill of anybody. Don't criticize a company, their team, or their process. You are the one that decided to leave. Okay, just leave it at that, no matter the reason. All right. So don't forget to always stay positive, stay proactive. Every application is a step closer to your dream job. And I pray that your job search will always be in your favor. In Jesus' name. Thank you once again. So I'll take the questions now.